Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest This is the Music Meets podcast, an independent podcast show that shines a light on rising artists from the new music scene from across the UK and Ireland. If you're new to the podcast, then please hit that subscribe button so you never miss out on any future episodes, and feel free to leave a comment and your thoughts as it will help us beat the algorithms. It's time for episode 96. And I'm delighted that rising indie rockers, the Ritz, are today's guests. On today's episode, we're going to get the full lowdown on the band's forthcoming new single, Only Time Will Tell, their two singles from 2023, and their plans for 2024. So it's a very warm welcome to This is the Music Meets podcast to Robbie and Seb. Thanks very much, both of you, for coming on tonight. How are you both doing?
Really good, thank you. So, pleasure to be here. It's our first ever podcast, our first ever interview as a band. So,
yeah.
Brilliant, great stuff. Well, thank you very much for letting me have that honour of being the first, breaking the cherry, so to speak. But kind of like, we've obviously got a hell of a lot to talk about, to find out about the Ritz's journey so far. But just before we do get started, I know obviously I just introduced you both there on the podcast, but can you just let us know what you do within the band, and obviously who your other fellow bandmates are as well?
So I'm Robbie, the lead singer, rhythm guitarist, and main songwriter in the band. The other two members in the band that aren't on the call are Finley, who's a lead guitarist, and Tom, who is our drummer. And Seb?
Yeah, so I'm Seb. I'm the bass player of the band.
Brilliant, great stuff. Well, as I say, it's fantastic to have you both here, and really looking forward to finding out about the story so far. So Robbie, I'll kind of like come to you first on this one, because we came across each other first of all back in 2021. In those dark days of the lockdown scenario that we all had to endure. Obviously, at that point, you were a solo artist. So kind of like, was at that point, did you ever envisage yourself being in a band? Did that kind of like happen naturally, that process, or was it something that, as I say, it just sort of happened, or was it something that you always wanted?
I think I always wanted a band. It's just I never studied music, and I don't really have didn't have many friends growing up that were into the same kind of music as me. So I just wasn't in them circles. So I just kind of cracked on my own for a little while, released a couple of songs by myself, and eventually kind of met a few of the right people, and managed to get the band together.
Yeah. Talk about how you met Finley.
Oh, we met Finley through there's a website called Join My Band, and I put an advertisement on there, and fortunately someone replied, and it was Finley. We had 4 or 5 rehearsals together in this room at my house, and then I met Seb through someone at work that I don't even know, and he doesn't know Seb. It was a weird situation. And then our original drummer, Seb, knew of him. So I don't know how it all fell into place, really. It's a strange one.
Wow. It's kind of
Tom,
like a bit of
drummer.
No, go on, Seb, go on.
Sorry, mate. Yeah, and our drummer, Tom. So he literally lives round the corner from me. He lives next to someone who else I'm in a band with. And I had no idea who he was. We met in lockdown at the skate park, but we followed each other on Instagram. And then on the first day I was at uni, we were like freshers in like a disco Weatherspoons. And then we start chatting, and then I realise he's my neighbour. And then, he plays drums.
Wow, that's fascinating. That's really, really odd. I guess you might say that the stars sort of all aligned then for you to get together.
Yeah, definitely.
And kind of the name, what inspired the name of the
band? I'm terrible with names. I've always had this thing about names, and it's even a thing with song titles. I have a whole list of song titles in my phone because I'm so I just always used to think I'm never going to be able to have a good title of something, or I don't know, it's a weird one. But anyway, I was trying to think of a name for a band, and I didn't want to call it like Super Furry Animals or something weird like that.
Yeah.
And then I was pondering whether it was going to be something generic like the something, and I just couldn't think of anything that interesting. And I was at work one day, and I work in a supermarket when I used to work on the shop floor, and they had a whole roll cage of Ritz crackers, and I thought that will do. Yeah, there's that. And then I kind of justified it by there's an Arctic Monkeys song called "From the Ritz to the Rubble."
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt like I was thinking of the Ritz everywhere, and in the Oasis documentary Supersonic, they basically chose that name because they kept seeing Oasis everywhere. So I just thought, oh, that would do. The name becomes itself anyway. I mean, Arctic Monkeys is a rubbish name.
Yeah.
I don't think about the name because it's blast music, so it's irrelevant.
Yeah, no, definitely. And was it quite straightforward in terms of getting the Ritz over the line with the other band members? Was there any objections at all, Seb? Can you remember?
I wasn't a fan. Yeah.
It was more of nobody else had thought of anything better, so we're just going to roll with it.
and see what happens. Well, I think it's a fascinating story, and I think it's a pretty cool name as well. To be fair, I quite like that. It does for me. It certainly stands out from the crowd. But obviously, we'll sort of fast forward. Then, obviously, you must have spent quite a bit of last year. I'm assuming a little bit, rehearsing and recording, and sounds like Robbie, you had quite a few songs already on the go. But obviously you sort of crashed into the indie scene sort of last year really with two singles, which I'm a huge fan of both of. So let's start first of all with the first single, the debut release, which was obviously called "When I Need You Most." Fantastic song. So sort of cast your mind back to the release date, if you can. What was the feeling like in the band in terms of you know releasing your first song as a band out into the big world?
Oh, it's such a weird feeling. When I was doing it on my own, it was obviously like it was all on me, but it's so weird to finally have something out there that you really believe in. And the whole dynamic of the band is a lot more upbeat. Like when I was doing my solo stuff, it was a lot more acoustic, but when I got the band together, it's obviously a lot more, there's a lot more in terms of like the riffs and the styles of the song. It's a lot more exciting to kind of put out there.
Hmm. Yeah, sure, and kind of like the reaction to it as well. I mean, it's obviously been pretty well received. I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, definitely. And then the other song that we've released since has gone down well as well. We're just gearing up at the minute for the next single release, which is a different kind of song. It's a bit more acoustic, but yeah, I mean the first song was it's I wrote that song in a chocolate factory
Right. Wow.
in Banbury. So, and I've got a voice note in my phone of me singing the riff into my phone. So it's really weird to kind of almost like give birth to it in terms of like going from me whistling a riff into my phone in a chocolate factory to it being professionally recorded is totally insane to me.
Yeah, sure, and and kind of like as well. Then in terms of you obviously written the lyrics, you've obviously got the melody and everything like that. Sort of Seb, are you kind of like left to your own devices in terms of coming up with your bass line, or is it very much Robbie's got an idea already in his head and that's sort of like what we're going with?
A bit of both, to be fair. So like he comes with these demos and hands us all them on Dropbox and stuff. And yeah, we listen to that. We get the general idea, and then we're allowed to go away and add our own things. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. And is it do you think moving forward that maybe you might as a band maybe like sorry, not record, write your songs like together as like in one
Yeah.
session, for example, rather than it being done sort of like separately?
Yeah, it will be good to do that. Only issue is we're a bit all over the place at the minute. Yeah, we got me and Tom are in the north. Robbie's obviously in the Midlands, and then our guitarist has moved down south to Salisbury, I think. Yeah,
Salisbury, yeah.
for work. So yeah, we're all a bit all over the place.
Right. Okay. Right. Wow. Yes. It must be a bit. Yeah. I guess it's almost lockdown number two then for you guys to a certain extent in
Yeah.
terms of yeah, getting together. But obviously, you sort of mentioned briefly there a little bit about the second single. Obviously, give me a sign,
Mhm.
which I think again, bursting with energy, and I think it sort of, I guess from an artist point of view, it's good to see that obviously the number of streams. I know it's not the be all and end all, but obviously it's had over 6,000 Spotify streams, which is double what the debut song had. So can you just give us a little bit of insight into that song as well? Is it is you trying to get a particular message across at all in the song?
Um, I think both of the songs were written around the riffs. They were the inspiration to start with. Lyrically, I feel like When I Need You Most is a lot more heartfelt and a bit more thought out in terms of the lyrics. I think like Give Me a Sign was literally just like writing the first things that came into my head. It's just one of them songs, really. It's just an upbeat kind of. It's a similar vibe to kind of Miles Kane Inhaler.
Yeah.
That was the kind of vibe I was going for with that song. I just want, with each single, I want to kind of showcase a different kind of style that we can do,
Yeah, sure,
rather than
definitely.
just churning out the same sort of stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think that's personally, I think that's quite admirable. Actually, I think that there's nothing wrong with sticking to the same formula, and for a
Yeah,
lot of bands, it works, and clearly a lot of people, absolutely love that. And as I say, there's nothing wrong with that at all. But that actually moves us on quite nicely, actually, to the next question, which is obviously the next single,
yeah,
which is called "Only Time Will Tell." That comes out this Friday. And we're going to put all the various links, pre-save links, etc., up in the episode bio
yeah,
for everyone to pre-save and to have a little listen after it goes live. But obviously, I've been very fortunate to hear sort of a pre-mastering mix. I think maybe it was
yeah,
bit more of a sort of acousticy ballad type of tune. Obviously, therefore a little bit slower in pace compared to the first two singles we've just discussed.
yeah.
So kind of like you sort of mentioned it a little bit. Why the change of pace for this particular song? And again, how in terms of thinking like the wider band as well, how easy was that to get that? I wouldn't say approved. I don't mean approved, but to sort of presented that to the band and the band's reaction and all that sort of stuff.
I think I do the demos with a friend of mine. So we're basically the songs that have already been demoed. We're kind of choosing from them because they're the ones that are more complete. We're more rehearsed and we play them live.
Yeah,
Um, so that's kind of, we're not restricted in that sense, but that's just what the formula has been so far. Um, we're just trying to put out songs that are stylistically, you can tell they're written by me, but they're just slightly different each time. We don't want to just keep putting out different versions of the same song, like I said. This is a lot more acoustic, this new song, but it definitely does get going. It definitely as it builds, it progresses. I think it's a great song. I wrote it in the first lockdown, actually, COVID lockdown. Precisely the 25th of May 2020. It's weird that I know that.
wow.
I know the dates for a few of the songs because I always used to go back and listen through them, and they're all dated, so it's.
Yeah, yeah, sure. And looking across the three releases so far, have you got a particular, well, both of you, have you got a particular favorite song that you've really, that you really enjoy either, rehearsing or recording it? What is it for you?
I'll let you go on that one, Seb.
Well, I'd probably say Give Me a Sign. It's when we play it live, it really seems to get the crowd going. So uh, it's fun to play. So I'd probably say that one. But wait till you hear the one that we've just done at the weekend. This one's gonna be a banger.
That's single number 4. We're getting ahead of ourselves here.
Yeah, sorry.
Well, that's
That it is a banger though. It could be a James Bond theme.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Oh
oh, I'm
yeah.
loving this. Tell me more. Tell me more. This is what we love. We love to get a little, little exclusive. What's going to be going on?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not going to say too much because obviously it's a 2 or 3 months off being released yet. Yeah, it's probably arguably the best song that I've ever written. It's my family's favorite. I've everyone
The
that I've
band's
ever played.
favorite.
What's up? Sorry.
The band's favorite too.
Yeah, it's a class song. I don't know how I wrote that. If anyone's interested, on the 8th of December 2020. So 2020 was the year. Also the day that John Lennon got shot, Jim Morrison's birthday, them kind of things.
Wow.
Yeah.
Inspirational day by the sounds of it.
Yeah, I wrote it. I wrote the initial idea on that day, but it's a banging song. I mean, it's more acoustic again. It goes even more kind of that way acoustically in terms of like there's an orchestral arrangement on it, or will be.
String quartet
is going to be doing that over the next couple of weeks. It's like a think of what's his name? He was famous for the Wall of Sound. What was his name? I can't think of his name now.
The producer.
Producer, yeah.
Do you know what? I can picture him. I can describe him. The massive hair.
Yeah, he got done for murder, didn't he?
Yeah, that's obviously recorded really well hashed up.
Phil
Let
Spector.
It Be, didn't it?
That's it.
That's the one.
An ugly fella, I've got to say. Yeah, it's definitely along them lines. It's honestly, I think it could be a #1 hit.
Excellent, great stuff. There you go. Well, you heard it here first, and that's not just for well, obviously discussed not just 3 singles, but obviously 4 singles there, and that sounds fantastic. How you described that, and you said it's probably going to be another sort of 2-3 months or so away in the future.
And we know who's going to hear it first.
Yeah. Well, we absolutely love that, and I appreciate that so much. It's great to hear the stuff that you've got coming, because, as I say, the new single coming out this Friday, Only Time Will Tell, is fantastic, and I think it really does hammer home. You could hear it on the first 2 songs anyway, but I think it really does hammer home how good you guys are as individuals, like playing and singing, but also as well how tight you are as a band. I think that really does come across, and just listening to the ideas there that you've got, talking about like the strings, and you're obviously clearly not just going to stick to the same formula. You are prepared to sort of mix it up, which I've personally I do quite like to see bands trying to revolve.
We've even got songs that are kind of more inspired. One song in particular, Seb will know What Could Have Been. That's a lot more kind of punk inspired in terms of like early Clash kind of vibe. I just I like to keep it fresh and mix it up. I mean, I just think that's the best way to be. I'm really inspired by people like Damon Albarn, who not only did Blur but did Gorillaz, solo stuff. The variation, I think it's just good to keep it fresh.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely. So, just rewinding ever so slightly, obviously the 2 singles that have been put out there so far, sort of kind of like, did it surpass expectations in terms of like the reaction that it received from people from that heard it?
I think personally, the people that surround the band, our families, our friends, that reaction was really good. I feel like we've still got headway to get where we want to be in terms of a broader audience, a proper fan base. But definitely within the people that have heard it, the reactions to them have been great. And the people that have been to the gigs and have heard the songs that haven't been released, they go down really well as well. So we just got to keep plugging at it, keep going. We can't be put off by, every now and again you have these thoughts of like, oh, we're not going anywhere, we're not doing anything. But you just got to set them aside and just crack on.
Yeah, absolutely. So you, Seb, you mentioned it yourself earlier on, and Robbie, you've just mentioned it there about playing live. So let's have a little chat about the live music that you have been playing up to. You obviously, I know back in November you played for This Feeling at Lending Room over up in Leeds. For those that don't know, that was back in November. But I also as well understand you've been hitting like the local gig circuit as well. Played at HMV as well. Little acoustic show. So kind of like for both of you, really, what do you enjoy most about playing live?
I think it's just the interaction, kind of, especially when you can see people sing along to songs. I mean, we've not had that a lot necessarily with our own stuff up to now, because obviously we've only released 2 songs. But even when you're doing covers, that kind of interaction when people get going, people enjoying, the kind of atmosphere that you create in playing live music, it's just great. I mean, I've did a lot of gigs last year on my own, solo, just to kind of help fund the band, and even them, and then also going live in the band at HMV. It's just great fun to kind of get out there and play music for people.
Yeah, sure. And Seb, what sort of show do you prefer? Obviously, we've mentioned there the Lending Room, obviously like full on, everything amps plugged in and turned up to 10. Or do you prefer like the sort of softer, like the more acoustic shows that you've been able to play?
No, I much prefer the bigger ones with the good atmosphere, like nice crowd. Yeah, it's good. But no, the chill acoustic ones, like you said, the HMV one, that one was really nice because we started and it was just like Robbie's mum and dad, but then like within that hour or so, like people coming past, walking through the shopping centre, like we saw this crowd build before us, and it was really nice seeing people actually enjoy themselves.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, I can only imagine what that buzz must be like being up there, you know, in front of people. And as you've said before, there, if you've got people, that are singing back your songs, I mean, that must be a bit of a, mind blowing moment to have, right?
it's real.
Definitely, yeah. We're also back at the Lending Room on the Friday the 17th of February next month.
Brilliant. Okay, well we'll put that link as well in the episode bio as well. Get people down and come and see you. But what is, so obviously you're based in Burton, which for those that don't know is sort of halfway between Birmingham and Derby, probably closer to Derby, I guess is probably a fairer location on the old Google Maps scenario if anyone wants to look it up. But kind of like what's the live music scene like in Burton, in terms of like artists and venues as well, or do you need to venture out into those, the biggest cities we've just mentioned there, Birmingham, Derby, obviously Nottingham's not too far away, or
For the
played
venues,
in
yeah.
Leeds as well. Yeah.
I think in terms of promoters coming here to put on shows, there isn't any of that. Like This Feeling don't even do Derby. The Future Sound, we have to go to like Birmingham or Nottingham or wherever. So in terms of promoters, the music scene isn't really here for Burton, but there's always been a really good kind of open mic kind of scene that I used to be involved with. And recently there's a new thing called the Burton Music Collective, which is a kind of community trying to just basically promote local talent and to build the kind of scene up. So it's definitely something that's growing, but it is only Burton, so it will only get so far, I presume. There used to
Okay.
be a really good club called the 76 Club in the late 70s, 80s. The Sex Pistols played there,
Yeah.
and quite
I
a lot
think
of other artists.
AC/DC.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah,
Right.
mad.
Okay. Right.
There were a lot of good bands coming out of Burton though, so I'd be surprised if the music scene didn't pick up here.
Mm.
Yeah, there's Seb plays in a punk band called Joseph Hooligan, and there's other bands called this. There's one called the 76 Club.
Yeah. Yeah.
Our
Familiar
old
with
drummers
those
in that
guys.
band. They're a good band. Who else is there, Seb? There used to be the
88
Power
miles.
My Mates band.
88 miles.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, it certainly sounds like then there is
It's definitely
some
picking up.
Yeah,
Joel
definitely. I think
Foster.
that's great to see, really. And you've just mentioned there as well that you obviously got a gig the 17th of February, obviously clearly next month, getting back out on the live scene. But have you got
Next week.
any other next gig? Right, brilliant, fantastic. So are there any other live plans developing at the moment? I mean, you obviously, I know it's probably a little bit early to be announcing anything, but obviously, like maybe in terms of festivals, is there an aim to try and get onto the festival circuit this year?
Yeah, I've been looking at the submissions for the festivals, and I've been taking down when the deadlines are to get them sorted. As far as other gigs, we've got the single obviously comes out on Friday. We've got a gig in Burton on Friday as a kind of a launch party for the kind of the song.
Hmm.
And then we've also got a gig coming up in March in Sheffield at Network.
Right.
Um,
Okay.
so that's another gig we've got to look forward to. I mean, we've got quite a lot of gigs throughout the year locally to Burton. We're just trying to get more kind of like promoters ones in the cities,
Yeah.
and also
Yeah.
trying to
Sure.
get on festivals and whatnot. Yeah.
Yeah. And are there any sort of festivals you're targeting all the festivals presumably, or is there any in particular that that you would be like I guess like a bucket list type of thing for the band?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I want to play Glastonbury one day, even if it's just even if I'm just playing in a tent. I'll take that. Um, yeah. I mean, locally, there's a festival called Bearded Theory. I think that's on at like Catton
Yeah.
Hall, which is just down the road. And then the biggest one locally is Why Not Festival. That's in Derbyshire, so
Yeah.
that's probably an hour's drive away. But yeah, I mean, we're going to be submitting for Victorious and Kendall Calling, all the kind of the festivals that have stages for up and coming bands, really.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So, just moving away briefly from you guys. Obviously, as you know, here at This Is the Music, we like to try and shine a light on bands like the Ritz that are obviously trying to establish themselves on the new music scene. So
Mhm.
kind of like I'd say over 2023, in that period, what sort of bands or artists have you both been checking out and that have really caught your eye?
Go on, Seb.
I was gonna say you first, Robbie.
Um, Joe played in terms of new artists. Joe Seb played as the new Joseph Hooligan single that's coming out in the
Right.
car on the way back. That's a good tune. To be fair, it's very
Yeah.
it's like punk meets David Bowie. It's very
Wow.
good.
Wow,
Very
Um,
good.
sounds interesting.
yeah.
I'll send you some. I'll send you some.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
I love that.
So that's in terms of like an up and coming artist. That's the one I can think of. And then I suppose in terms of more popular music, I've been listening to a lot of Talking Heads. I'm not going to lie. Not that you'd be able to tell that in my songwriting.
Yeah.
I love David Byrne. He's great. And then just a kind of splatter of the generic kind of Oasis, Arctic Monkeys kind of stuff, really, for me.
Yeah, sure. How about you, Seb?
Can you repeat the question?
What sort of bands or artists in 2023 have you been, sort of on that new music scene really, but what bands have you an art or artists, sorry, have you been checking out across the last year?
I'd say like locally, the club, the 76 Club have been doing all right. They've got two singles out right now.
Mhm.
They're
Yeah.
also supporting the Libertines, which is massive,
Mm,
massive.
yeah.
So yeah, you should check them out if you already haven't. Um, I've been listening to a lot of Queen recently. Yeah, I had to
I thought
play.
yeah, Queen, yeah. You had it on the car on the way down to ski for the weekend.
Brilliant.
Mm.
Well, a couple of fantastic bands in there, and obviously a couple of legendary bands as well, which is great to see that sort of contrast there as well. But kind of like what I would like to you know some quick fire questions at you both now. What band or maybe a solo artist were your biggest influences when you were growing up, and do they still inspire you both today?
Definitely. The one that springs to mind for me is definitely Noel Gallagher. I'm not a massive Liam fan, to be fair. I think it's the whole camaraderie that goes with that. But yeah, definitely Noel. Even his more recent solo stuff that's probably the biggest influence on me, really. And Bob Dylan as well. I love Bob Dylan.
Great. How about you, Seb?
I'd say Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. It got me like I used to hate playing bass. I can't lie. I was like, oh, just something I do. And
Yeah.
then someone introduced me to Can't Stop. That's so like generic, but yeah. And then I started to do like slap bass, and then from then on, I was like, oh, I actually kind of rate this.
Yeah, he's a proper character, isn't he, Flea?
He is, yeah.
Love to see it. Okay, so you're allowed to see one final song from your favorite artist in your favorite venue. Who are you choosing? So one song, one artist, and one venue.
No, go on, Seb. You can go first. I'm still thinking.
It's a bit generic again, but I'd say like Bohemian Rhapsody at Wembley.
Oh, nice. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
great choice.
Go on, Robbie.
Purely because I don't know if I'll ever get round to seeing him, but it probably would be Bob Dylan. I don't really know what songs because he does different he never plays the same version twice. It's annoying.
Yeah.
Like he's not still doing the 60s stuff like in the 60s. He kind of like jazzes it up a little bit.
Yeah.
So I don't really know what song, but I'd love to see Bob Dylan, even if he is kind of a bit croaky nowadays.
Okay, so for both of you, we'll split this question up a little bit. So 4 albums. What 4 albums would you take with you on a remote desert island?
I'd go Bob Dylan, Blood on the Tracks. What else? I'd go Favorite Worst Nightmare by Arctic Monkeys because that's one of the first albums I ever owned.
Yeah.
I'd definitely have to take an Oasis album. We'll go The Master Plan by Oasis. And what else would I take? I'd probably go with the Smiths, probably The Queen is Dead.
Brilliant, fantastic choices here. Love it, loving them. As I say, brilliant choices. And how about you, Seb?
I've gathered a little list from when you asked that before before we started. So I've gone with A Day at the Races by Queen. By the
Yeah.
way, the Chili Peppers. Have you heard of an artist named Masayoshi Takanaka?
No.
He's like
I
a
haven't, no.
Japanese like jazz fusion, and he plays electric, and it's like Seychelles. It's like it gives that remote desert island vibe. You'll have to listen to it. And
Right. Okay.
and then another one from like a slightly smaller band. The album's called Nothing's On but Everyone's Watching by a band named Daytime TV. And I was lucky enough to have met the bassist quite a number of times. He's such a nice lad, and because of that, I feel like I've got that connection along with like the really fucking good songs.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, I'd have to say Nothing's On but Everyone's Watching for the last one.
Oh, brilliant. Well, yeah, great choices. And it sounds like there's a couple in there for me to go away and have a little listen to as well. But what I would like to know is, have you ever had a dream where you were performing with a famous musician or a band, and who was it?
Oh, I have some weird dreams, and I have some weird dreams.
And that one hasn't been in it.
No, but knowing my luck tonight, I'll be dreaming about that. Subconsciously, that's what's happening tonight. I'm going to be on stage with Queen or someone like that.
Yeah, literally.
I don't think I ever have. I mean, I should really write the dreams down. I probably have it done.
Dated as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, any of the legends really, it'd be great. I mean, not to necessarily get up with them and do one of their songs if one day one of the legends gets up and does a Ritz song.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty cool.
Absolutely. So we've obviously spoken a little bit about the new single, but what other plans are kind of like in store for the Ritz this year?
Um, Mainly just to kind of build more of a fan base, to kind of build some momentum, trying to get on festivals. We've just launched a new website we're going to have some merch on there eventually. We're going to get around to designing that. That's the ritzband.com. So we've basically just replaced our link tree with a
Mhm.
Shopify kind of website. Looks a bit more professional. Yeah, I suppose just building a bit more momentum, being consistent with releasing songs, and just trying to build a fan base, really.
Brilliant, great stuff. Well, Robbie and Seb, that is the end of the This Is the Music Meets podcast. Thank you both very much for joining me on the latest episode. It's been a real pleasure and getting to know both of you a little bit, and obviously the band dynamic as well within the Ritz. But just before I do let you go, can you let the This Is the Music listeners know the social media platforms that they can find the Ritz on?
So we're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or X. We're on TikTok, and we're not on Threads actually, but it's our handle is at the Ritz_band. And like I said, we've got a new website which is theritzband.com. That's got all our information on it. So yeah, that's where you can find us really.
Brilliant, great stuff, and we'll include those links in the episode bio. And as I say, I wish the Ritz continued success. You're one of my favourite bands that emerged last year, and I'll be definitely keeping my eye on your progress as the plans for 2024 do sound really exciting. The Ritz's new single, Only Time Will Tell, is released this Friday, the 26th of January, and it's available to pre-save now from the link in the episode bio. Robbie and Seb, thanks very much for coming on. It's been a real blast, and as I say, I wish you both continued success. And all that leaves me to say is to thank everyone for tuning in to the latest This Is the Music Meets podcast. Please subscribe so you never miss out on any future episodes. And if you're loving the podcast, please leave a 5-star rating and written review, as it really does help us beat those Spotify and YouTube algorithms. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you somewhere down the road.